I'm the lead learner for the Center for Educator Wellness and Learning, and I hope you all are having a great night. We came up with the idea for this live stream when I started seeing comments coming in from Charleston County School, the school board meeting coming in last night, and again this morning, and felt like it was really important that we talk about this quickly and urgently because this is really important. And right now, it's unfortunate, but we have school board members across the state who really are representing kind of extremist views and doing things that are detrimental and destructive to our public schools. And it's important that as members of the SCEA and members of the community that supports public schools, that first of all, we're aware of what's going on. And then second of all, that we discuss creative and real ideas for how to address these issues, and that we think about the word solidarity, because what happens in Charleston, even if you're here in Horry County where I am, or you're in Greenville or Columbia, wherever you are in this state, this kind of thing is important for us to rally around. And we need to show solidarity, because what happens in one part of the state can eventually happen in our part of the state, especially when it goes unchallenged. So I've invited three folks from the area, including our UNISERV director for the Charleston area, Alana Ward, and Sydney Van Bulck and Joy Brown, two very prominent education advocates from the Charleston area. So I'd like to bring them on now. And first of all, say, I know it's probably raining down there. I hope you guys are staying dry, but welcome and thank you so much for your time tonight and coming onto the show with such short notice.
Thanks for having us, Todd.
Thank you, Todd, for doing this.
Yeah, this is an important discussion to have, so thank you.
Well, let's start off with, I think, some folks who are watching may know a lot of details, but some folks watching may really not know what's going on. Can one of you give a sort of summary of what happened at the school board meeting last night and why it's so significant?
Sure. I'll start, and Joy, if you want to follow up, that'll be good, because I'm sure I won't remember it all. There were three major things that happened. Well, there were a lot of major things, but I think the three biggest points that happened were first and foremost, our Michelle Simmons, who works directly with our teachers and our teacher coaches. She has been her impact on CCSD is honestly immeasurable, but if we were going to measure it, we could look at our academic achievements. And over the last year, and literally 2 weeks ago, she stood before the board and gave a presentation which showed that the district had historic gains, especially in our African American students. And then 2 weeks. So her position right now was I honestly don't even know where she stands at the moment, but she was her job was an interim position, and that position needs to be filled, but she is by far the best candidate. CCSD had 2 different hiring firms come in and do interviews, and they both recommended her for the job as well. And Dr. Gallion, our new superintendent, agreed and wanted to offer her position as a permanent position. And the board denied him that opportunity. Then while they were in executive session, we can't know for sure exactly what went down because legality behind executive session. But what we do know is that a claim was made, and the 5 Moms for Liberty board members are using that as a way to put Dr. Gallion on administrative leave. So, and then they appointed Anita Huggins to step in as interim. Some interesting facts about that. They did not ask her beforehand if she wanted that position, and she wasn't even in the room when the vote happened. So she was appointed without her own knowledge. So that's special. And interesting. And the other really big key point that I think we cannot lose sight on is the fact that Ed Kelly took it upon himself to take our health and advisory committee and fire, essentially, for lack of a better word, most of the sitting members of that committee. They serve for a 3-year term. And he fired the members that he didn't like and put forth an entire new slate, which is unprecedented. And I'm not even sure he has the right to do that. I'm not sure about the legality behind it. Mm-hmm. But either way, he took out the people who were going to fight for truth in our health education and put religious zealots in those positions, which means we're not going to be getting our students aren't going to be getting scientific information. They're going to be getting church information.
Yeah, so that is a really great rundown of things that happened yesterday. I'm going to echo Sydney and say Michelle Simmons is somebody who has done the work and put in the work in our district. She's been with the district for 25 years. She's a Burke alum. She was a teacher in CCSD and a principal at CCSD and has worked her way up. She was deputy superintendent of all elementary schools. So she is she has such a strong understanding and she's just a community. She's what holds the community together. And there's no stronger candidate. And like Sydney said, it was confirmed by second party sources, in these search firms or search programs, that she was the one that was going to be best suited for the job. Now, I am going to go so far as to say it seems like they took her explaining EL and the successes EL had, and they turned her into a political pawn. They are ignoring the fact that she has put in so much work and has roots in this community. And so, and they're trying to brush her aside for somebody else who is not suited for the job. Obviously, she's suited for the job. She was put there as interim. She's been interim for a year. She is currently still interim. So right now she is still interim. So we are happy with that. But it's a very volatile situation. You have a board who has a history of having these meetings, really trying to micromanage Dr. Gallion. I think here in Charleston, we know that it was a big deal the way that they brought him on. There's a very contentious hiring process. He was the only candidate left standing after a board member or somebody leaked information. And so he was the one left standing, and they went ahead and hired him. Some of these very board members who were trying to fire him hired him just a few months ago. And now, obviously something has happened. It seems very personal because the 2 meetings before, so the September 11th meeting, they had a special called meeting. Again, abusing executive session. It was not, we're getting into the nitty gritty. It was not properly noticed. It was an illegally held special called meeting. And they came out with no vote after hours. We were all waiting. No vote, no nothing. So we're not allowed to know what they discussed. Chair McKinney put out a statement saying, we didn't really do anything. It wasn't a big deal. And then board member Darren Lee Calhoun told us what he could use, with executive session confidentiality in mind, that there indeed was talk about firing somebody, how to fire Dr. Gallion. So that being said, they come back at the very next meeting and have, what I'm going to go out on a limb and call a witch hunt, that they are just out to get this man and anybody who is standing with him. And, I don't know him. He hasn't been around long enough to be able to prove what kind of job he can do. What I have seen so far of him, though, is that he does seem to genuinely care about the students. Why else would you stay around here in this climate?
Right. Alana, do you have anything to add?
So not with regard to the details, but what I do want to kind of pose as a question, because Todd, you said it earlier, that just because this is not happening in your backyard yet, it does not mean that it is not on its way. So last year, we saw a very similar thing happen in Berkeley County. We saw a newly elected board of majority Moms for Liberty candidates come in and immediately fire the superintendent, immediately fire the school board council, and begin to wreak havoc. We saw educators who were petrified at the thought that a superintendent who was looking out for their best interests, who was doing an excellent job based on the evaluations of the district, who had received accolades, being immediately fired without any type of reasoning, without any explanation. And so fast forward, now we see the same type of thing happening in Charleston County. So the board didn't immediately, upon election, seek to fire the superintendent, because we didn't have one. We had an interim, and the interim was doing an excellent job. This board hired this superintendent, and now they are looking for a reason to get rid of him. And so I can't speculate as to why, but I do think that we can cry foul play. I do think that if we look at the situation, we can say, if we ask the question, is this what's best for students in Charleston County? Is this what's best for educators in Charleston County? I think that I would have trouble saying yes. And so if it were, I really feel like we would see a lot more transparency. Mm-hmm. We would, we would know what the reasoning is. We would, and I understand it's a personnel matter, and these types of things are confidential, but I feel like the shroud of secrecy and, the underhanded tactics, they tell us that something's not right. And so, Joy, you said, you hesitate to say a witch hunt, but it kind of feels like that. And so I think what I'm hearing from educators in Charleston County, and people in general, is that we want what's best for the students and for the educators in Charleston County. We want Charleston County to be set up for success. And these types of tactics by a board that says it's for Charleston County Public Schools, it makes it very, very difficult for us to believe that.
Right. I want to get to a couple of questions, because we've got a lot, and feel free to answer them quickly. But I'd like to get, because I'd like to honor the fact we've got 89 people now watching. What are the procedural impacts of the 4 board members leaving mid-meeting? This is from Kat Lowe, who I think is very familiar with this kind of thing.
So I'll say one of the issues, because it happened last night. We had 4 board members leave. They were very upset, understandably so. They were blindsided. They were not given information that they are by policy due to get.
Mm-hmm.
And so they left. Unfortunately, what that left is this board had a quorum. Now, them leaving really didn't change too much because they had the votes and they were going to do what they wanted to do. They have made it very clear that they are on one page with all of this. But they were able to, the only issue was they were able to change the agenda because they had 2/3, it's 2/3 present. So they were able to change the agenda at will. Which is why we tried so hard to make sure that we got Mr. Calhoun on the board, because we didn't want them to have a supermajority, because that supermajority gives them way more power. So that's really that would be the only ramification of them having left. But I understand.
Yeah, all of the votes were unanimous after the other 4 left, so it didn't really make any difference voting wise.
Thank you. Whitney asked, do we know who they want to put in the position?
There's speculation.
Speculation.
But
Okay.
that's really all we can do right now. There have been a lot of, there's always like a touch of truth to things that you hear. And so there were definitely names, and I can say what I heard. I think obviously Anita's going to be one of the people because they put her in the interim position, but Terry Nichols is somebody who is an at-will employee right now. She's retired, I think, before, and now she's at the district. Her name was definitely buzzed about.
Linda's asking, is there a reason Dr. Gallion cannot come forward and explain the suspension? Is he under a gag order?
I believe he is the only one who can, because it is it's a matter that is concerning him. So it's the way that executive session is, it's to protect the person who. So when there was talk about Ed Kelly was the only person who legally could come out and say, this is what was said about me, whatever. And so since it's Gallion, more will come out. We will, what I can say is that there are emails that will kind of lay it out a lot more clearly, and they have been FOIA'd. And so that information will come out to the public pretty soon.
Awesome.
Right. And I think that the big thing to remember is that it is an open investigation now. Mm-hmm. Since they've decided to move forward with an investigation, any pending investigation, even the FOIAs, they're going to postpone until that investigation is complete. Hopefully, it is not a long, drawn-out process. It should be pretty straightforward from my understanding. That's what some of the board members mentioned last night.
Let's draw connect the dots for people a little bit. This stuff that's going on in Charleston County, how is this going to impact educators in the district and students as well?
Well, I can just speak from the educators that I heard from yesterday, which was quite a bit of them. There's instability, and anytime you have instability in a district, that is going to directly affect the classrooms, which means it directly affects the students. We have a lot of teachers who are very fearful right now because the witch hunts may start at the top, but we're seeing a pattern nationwide where when the witch hunts begin with the superintendent, they then start trickling down to the teachers. And so there's a lot of fear right now amongst educators across the district, rightfully so. Also, consistency is really important in the classroom. And when you've got political ping pong happening at the top. And teachers are being told one thing one day and the next day something else. And how does that translate into the lessons that are being put forward to the children? And in one classroom, you may have a teacher who's like, we're going to stick the path, but then that puts a target on their back. Or you may have other teachers who are like, whoa, okay, what? And then, it's going to all of these decisions, every decision that the board makes, whether they understand it or not, every decision that is made in that boardroom in some way or another affects every single student in CCSD.
And let's be real, this board has not, they did increase teacher salaries. Other than that, they have not done one single student-focused, student-driven initiative at all. Yeah. Everything has been politicized. It is all to sow disruption and chaos. And they're trying to wreak havoc on our district, which, like Sydney said, that trickles down to our schools. And if our principals and teachers are distracted by this, what does that do for our students, right? I mean, they went so far as how long did it take them to pass the budget? They wanted to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and every single thing that they wanted to pull happened to be curriculum driven.
Mm-hmm.
So that is telling me right there that their focus is solely on wreaking havoc in our schools, and it is not with our students. And shame on them for running.
Yeah.
You don't run for school board and not have student outcomes as your primary focus. And so, with the budget, it took so long. And then you have teachers who are having to wait on their contracts. You have, open employees
that haven't been paid yet.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the payment in arrears. And that was an odd thing they tried to pin on Dr. Gallion, but that's been in place since 2017. Right. So I really think that that's worrisome that they tried to pin that on him as well. It goes to that whole witch hunt thing. But yeah, it's chaos. That's their intention.
Todd, I saw a question pop up, and I think it is relevant here, but someone asked if the teachers and schools can go on basically a strike. I don't know if you see that.
I did see that. Let me see if I can find it, and I will repost it. Go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah, I would say yes. That is, we're the message here tonight is solidarity, and to any teachers that are out there and are like, "Ooh, okay." I just want you to know that I spoke to a couple of principals last night who also are on board with this, and what I will say is that it takes a lot of organization, but I would say there's no better time than now to start talking to your colleagues and start those conversations. Know that we're going to have your back. We're going to support you in that. I would also say now would be a great time, if you haven't joined yet, to join the SCEA, because they are going to have your back. They're going to protect you. But I think that our voice is only, if it's one person screaming, if it's just me and Joy every week, they're not going to listen to us. But what they are going to do is they're going to listen if every single one of you step up and make your voices heard.
Well, and what I would also like to add, definitely we want to take action, but we need to first know what it is that we want. And so, it's very easy when we see a situation like this unfold to say, well, we're not going to stand for this. We have to do something. But what? They are being very strategic in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. We cannot meet strategy with emotion. we have to meet strategy with strategy.
Yes.
And so, one of the comments talked about organizing. Sydney, you just said it takes a great deal of organizing.
Mhm.
And so we don't need to lose sight of that. We need to know what we want of them. We need to be unified. We need to make sure that we are as strategic or more strategic in our asks, because unfortunately, they have positional power. We have people power, but we need to make sure that our people are one band, one sound. We need to say the same thing, and we need to come strong. So that, I think, definitely we're riled up. We are, everyone is ready to take action. But if we take action before we plan, if we take action before we galvanize, then that's a problem. It's going to be chaos. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we have a strategy, a plan, and we move forward.
I agree with that. And if I might add, because, Alana, and then I think Kat actually did say, what is the ask? And right now, because this is a long game, this is going to be a very long, drawn out process. We know ultimately the only person who can remove a board member, a sitting board member, is the governor. So this is going to be, we're in it for the long haul, right? So right now, my ask for anybody all the people who have asked me, what are we doing right now? My ask right now is that you inundate the school board. I want people to write letters supporting Michelle Simmons and showing how important she is to our community and our school district and our students. Write those letters of support. Let every single board member, the superintendent, Anita Huggins, and Michelle Simmons. That's going to be a first step, because they need to know what they're up against. They're in their bubble. They're not paying attention to us. So when they see that flood of emails, last night at the meeting, Keith Grabowski said of Cognia, there was this big hubbub about Cognia accreditation. And he said, I sure got it. I got it from teachers and principals that I understand now that was not something to mess with. Well, guess what? Michelle Simmons is not something to mess with. Okay. Our students, our school district is not something to mess with. So we need to remind them how important this is, and that we are not playing their political game.
I'd like to just interject here. Thank you so much for all of these. These are amazing comments. Some folks in the comments are talking about, we need a union, and I just want to make it clear that it's a union that's bringing you this live stream tonight. It's the South Carolina Education Association, and we're affiliated with the largest labor union in the country, the NEA. And the only way that we're going to be effective, not only in the short term, but in the long term, is to come together and to unify under a union, not under just some association that's going to give you cheap insurance, but a union where we can actually sustainably organize. And Alana's here, and she is the UniServe director who can help everyone in the Low Country organize. And we also have UniServe directors in the Midlands and in the Upstate. And we are a growing union, and the more people that join our union, the more effective we are, because the louder our voice is going to be, the more we can act collectively. But if we're just kind of like all just scrambling around for a reaction, it's going to be a short, maybe it's a loud bang, but it's going to be a short-term, fizzled out situation that's not going to create the sustainable change that we need. And the only way to do that is to organize around a union. And it requires really thinking strategically about what our moves are, because you can go and play checkers, and just because it looks like, I'm supposed to jump here, is not necessarily the right move.
Right.
You've got to think multiple steps ahead. And Alana is one of the best at that. And thank you so much, Alana, for that. So if you are watching and you are not currently a member, I do want you to look at the bottom of your screen. You can join today at jointhescea.org. You can reach out to Alana if you have any questions. I think it's A Ward at the SCEA.org. I'll put that up there in just a minute. But you can reach out to Alana with any questions you have about joining our movement. But I really want to encourage folks who are watching to take that first step, and then to get together under one banner, under a union, and then we can move forward together rather than these sort of haphazard, separate little reactions.
Yeah.
What are some strategies moving forward? I know we talked about, and Joy, I think you talked about, reaching out to the school board. But what can we do together if you're a teacher, if educators from other parts of the state may be watching? What can educators, say in Greenville or Columbia or Horry County, do to support our colleagues and in solidarity in Charleston?
They can write the governor and the legislators in Columbia, because as Joy pointed out just a few minutes ago, the only person who can remove a board member is the governor. We know he's not going to do that, but we can have statewide pressure to say, look, we see what's happening in Charleston, and we as a state are not okay with it. Sometimes if you put enough pressure on politicians, they might not do the right thing, but they'll kind of poke the bear a little bit. And sometimes they can poke the bear and say, okay, we pushed the line a little too far. Let's bring it in a little bit. And so I think that it's always important to be, putting the pressure and the responsibility on the people that we've elected to run our state, run our local communities, because it's their jobs. And so I think it's just important that we just keep getting the message out.
And Sydney, you and Joy both, correct me if I'm wrong, but both ran for school board.
The same seat, unfortunately.
And I think this is an important point, is we need advocates like you running. But then on top of that, we need our educators to get out and to be registered to vote and bring all of their friends and family and then get out the vote. Because if we would do that, we could win these school board meeting elections and elect folks like you and prevent this kind of thing from happening in the first place. So we shouldn't have to be putting out these fires. We should just be electing people who are pro-public education, who are overseeing our public schools. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me that people who are anti-public education are the ones in charge of our school boards. That makes no sense. So let them go be on a school board of a private school or some other school that they approve of their curriculum and that kind of thing. We don't need those kind of folks overseeing public education. Can you talk a little bit about that, the importance of running?
Well, first of all, I just want to remind people that the SCEA and the NEA, it's nonpartisan. And so, yes, we want to encourage you to get out and vote. We want to encourage you to vote for pro-education candidates, and we will help you do the research on which candidates are pro-education and which ones are not. But we're not here to say you need to vote all Democrat or all Republican. As a union, that's not where it stands. And so I think that's important, because I'm sure that we have both Democrats and Republicans watching tonight. And so when we say to vote pro-education, we mean we're looking at all of the politicians and seeing their voting record on education.
Kat says this, it is, I think, I don't know if this stat's exactly right, but it's around half of the teachers in our state not voting. And then we're like, why, what's going on here? And we really, really need to not just vote ourselves, but to make sure to walk down our hallways, say, are you registered to vote? And just let everybody know and give them the website to go to that I put up there. It's really easy, scvotes.gov. Everybody can go in and vote. Parents can vote. Our parents who are pro-public education need to be voting. And we've got to get young people involved as well. My son, who just became eligible to vote, and he played a trick on me. I'm not going to say who he said he voted for, but it was somebody that he knew that I didn't want. He's like, wasn't that the person I was supposed to vote for? And I said, what? And he kept it going for like about 5 minutes, and he found, Dad, I didn't vote for him. But we have to get young people involved, because really this is about their future, and the future generations of South Carolina's children are going to be affected by this when we when we allow the public school systems to be gutted by extremists who really want to see the whole system crumble. I mean, that's really underneath all of this, all the Moms for Liberty stuff, is this desire to really undermine trust in public education and to really get it dismantled. Then you can pass things like private school vouchers, and then you can sort of turn it into a for-profit system, turn it over to private entities, which to me is an absolute disaster for democracy.
Right.
I mean, I think an important thing to talk about too, especially when it comes to voting, because it is hard to follow all this. It is a lot of work to keep up with everything. And you know what? Teachers, parents, everybody's busy. We've got things going on. And so I think it goes back to what Alana said about staying organized and staying on message and making sure people are as informed as possible. And so we really need to work together. I mean, I think that we learned a lot from the last election. That was an unfortunate situation, especially with all 9 seats. I mean, it was just a perfect storm. And this is what happened, but we've got people, we're organizing now. We're already organizing for the 24 elections. We're working on the 26 elections already, because that's what we need to do, because that's where we have the numbers, we have the people, we have the passion, right? But we all have to be able to be on a similar page.
Right.
Moms for Liberty, they literally have a playbook. They literally have a playbook that they just get to whip out, and it's done. It's easy. They have templates for running for their people, and that's stuff that it's expensive. It's very time consuming. And again, we're all, parents and teachers, and we have things going on. So we just need to be able to be as educated, keep everybody as educated on these. So that's why it is important to have a panel like this where we can discuss and really break down what's been going on in a way that everybody can understand, so that we do remember in 2024, we remember and we vote. I can tell you, I've actually had Moms for Liberty people tell me they would support me if I ran again. Now, I don't know about that. I'm not making any commitments, but to know that there are issues on their side. They have loud voices, but it's a small number. We have a large community. And so as long as we can stay together, stay effective, and be in this for the long haul, we can really do this. We can really turn this around.
Absolutely. I think, go ahead, Alana. I don't want to interrupt.
I was just going to say, I want to underscore what you just said, Joy. Together and long haul. So, I have been kind of, peeking the comments, and I know that there are some people who are very, very frustrated. But unfortunately, we don't have all the information. And so we are frustrated, we are agitated, but we don't have all the information yet. So not that we know anything, but what if there's more to what they're saying than what we know? And we charge full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that pulls us down. So we want to keep our heads. We want to make sure that we have the best information. We want to make sure that we are together. And that takes time and effort, planning and strategy. So we've got to put together our group of people. And then as we move forward, our tactics will become more and more successful. So I'm working with another county very near to us. And it seems like now that county is under the microscope. We do small things. And they're like, well, why are they doing that? Why did they bring pizza? There are some people in the comments who know exactly what I'm talking about. And so, but it's because we've done the little things going forward. We've escalated and escalated, and we've gotten together, and we've gotten community support, and we have built our base. And so that garnering of support from other people who are like-minded and building that group has gotten the attention of the powers that be. And now they're looking at us saying, how did they do what they just did? I love pizza too, Mary Rita. But it's that step movement. It cannot be a jumping in on the deep end without having that community of support being built, because we never want to go out charging into battle and our rear is left open.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we cover our rear. We have our right and our left flanks built up, and that we know what we're going into and how we're going to win. Because I don't like going in and setting myself up for defeat. So we have to make sure that we are poised for a win, because we've done the work on the front end.
And I think it's really important for educators to hear this, that there's been this kind of cynicism creeping into the zeitgeist and the conversation around, South Carolina politics. And I think a lot of people just feel defeated and like, it doesn't matter what I say or what I do, we're not going to win these races. It's not, we're not so far away in terms of the differentials in a lot of these races, that if we didn't really organize and come together and vote as educators and vote as pro-public education people in South Carolina, that we couldn't win a lot more races and certainly make a lot more closer. So the idea, we just can't give up. We can't give up, because this is also, in my opinion, what we're seeing is something that's temporary. I think love, justice, compassion. I don't want to misquote MLK, but the arc of history is towards justice, and I really believe we've got to stay committed and dedicated. And the best way that educators I know of that can do this, and someone mentioned from administrators as well. So administrators, classroom teachers, bus drivers, custodial staff, front office staff, everybody coming together, unified in a movement. And the SCEA is that movement. We are the union in South Carolina. No other organization is doing this. And if you go look at our social media pages, look at what Noreen Willis just posted, and their video on cool schools. Check that out. And then go see if you can find any other professional education organization that is actually advocating for these things. It's really, really important that you take a look at who's standing up for what values. The SCEA, the NEA has had the backs of people from all communities. We stand up for social justice, and we are doing this live stream tonight. What other organization, what other professional organization is doing that? And it's not to say, I'm not going to stand here and create schism or condemn anybody. What I'm asking people to do is just take a look and then consider joining our movement at the SCEA, because I think we are the hope. This movement is the hope for public education in South Carolina. Yeah. I want to give you a chance to share any final thoughts before we sign off. What have we not talked about, or what would you like to say before we close things out?
I think I would end with hope. I would end with, the possibility of better for the educators and for the students in Charleston County. We do not have to shrug our shoulders in defeat. We do not have to just close our doors and teach in our classrooms. We can join together with other educators and make a difference. Unfortunately, we are on the front lines in more ways than one. We are not only making sure that we raise up a generation and educate a generation that will be impactful in America in the future, but we're also standing for the good of public education to come. This institution is under attack, and we can, say it in 100 different ways, but that's what's happening. And so the only thing that stands between the dismantling of public education and the longevity and the strengthening of public education is these like-minded people who believe in the institution and believe in the reason it was created. So we have to stand. We have to be strong. We have to make sure that even though it is emotionally and physically draining, that we know that the greater good is on the other side of it, and we have to do this work.
I'll echo that, that we can't sit in despair. What our opposition wants from us is for us to go home beaten up from battle week after week after week and get tired and frustrated and give up. And we can't allow that to happen. There's questions asking for next steps. If you aren't a member, to join. Thank you, Marita. And to just say what Joy said earlier, to contact your board members frequently, often. Like, they should know your name. You should be contacting them often enough that they are aware of who you are. Mary Rita, yes, start in your building. Every school, that's home base. That's your classroom is your home away from home, and your school that's your family and your community. So start in your building, start talking to your peers. Make sure that your school's, like, that your voice is being heard and that your school's collective voice is being heard. Reach out to Flashette Johnson. She's our president of our local. Alana's here to help. The SCEA is here to help. And once we start getting organized, there's Flashette. Once we start getting organized, we can really push forward. So yes, the next meeting is the committee of the whole. However, they have taken public comments out of the committee of the whole meetings. And so the next one where you can do public comments will be 2 weeks after that. Are emails safe? They are, if they are from your personal emails.
Good point. I think that Mary Rita's point of what to do next, obviously reaching out to the school board, showing up at the school board meetings, but I think organizing, starting in your building. If you don't have a building rep, volunteer, join the SCEA, reach out to Alana. I put her email address, award@thescea.org. Reach out to her, talk to her about what being a building rep is. Get your building organized. Start small in your school. Get that organized. Get the people who are on board at the school level, and then those building reps can get organized together and start figuring out what kind of collective action they can take together. But this takes coordination and organizing, not just vitriol and anger. You've got to start and really build the network out, build the movement out, and then you have the power to actually create sustainable change. And I think that's what we're saying. And Alana is there at your beck and call to help you get that organization, that structure put in place.
And quick correction, Ed Flashette is our president, but it's Dorsey Montgomery. So my bad. I just see Flashette all the time, and my brain had a moment.
I want to say, well, first of all, Alana, I feel like we have the similar brain. Like, I've got a strategy brain, and I don't give up. Like, I feel like there is always a solution. And when things do feel hopeless, just know that there is a solution. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be messy. It's going to be dirty. And it's not going to always be fulfilling. It's not going to be that, yeah, gotcha thing. Sometimes that's just not going to happen, but that's part of the long game. We're playing a long game. We're playing a short game. We're playing checkers, chess, and backgammon all at the same time. But just know that we are here. There are plenty of people doing the work. And I want to, SCEA 100%. Also, let's work together. There's a lot of community leaders out there that are doing all the work. So we just need to make sure that we stay together on that and work together. I ask people to listen.
Yes.
Listen to your other people, listen to teachers, listen to parents, make those connections, build that community, because that's what they don't have, that we do have. That ability to have strong, real community. And that's how we're going to get it. That's how we're going to get them. And again, there is always a solution. There is always a plan. Even if you can't speak at public comments, please show up. Please show up to every single board meeting. Take turns if you need to. We don't want to get burnt out. They're going to be tough. I'll tell you, last night, I very rarely act in anger. I was so angry, I couldn't even think straight yesterday. So it took me a moment to be able to, see the board game again. Yeah. But it's there. We've got plans. We're going to move forward. We got to trust the process. We have to trust each other. And I really hope that people will continue to reach out, get involved, get engaged, even if that means writing a letter. That is a part that's crucial. There are so many different tools in the toolbox that and we need every single one of them. Every one of them is important.
That's right. Well, thanks to all of you for being such strong advocates and standing up and having courage to use your voice. I appreciate what you're doing on social media. I appreciate everything that you're doing locally and in person to help organize, to help move things forward, and to protect public education for educators and students in the Charleston area. Thank you. Thanks to all three of you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, that was Alana Ward, Sydney Van Bulck, and Joy Brown. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. This is probably a record-setting live stream for us. I've never seen this much engagement and commentary. Thank you so much for everybody who brought questions and comments and who listened. I just want to remind you, we are the movement. The SCEA is your union in South Carolina. You can join us at jointhescea.org. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. If you're on your phone, you can text the word join to 48744. If you're not ready to join yet, but you'd like to learn more about the SCEA, you can go to the scea.org/YRO, fill out that form. Someone from our organization will be in touch with you and to talk with you a little bit more about what we do, all of our benefits, and what our movement's really all about. We need building reps in every single school building in South Carolina. We need to be organizing in every school in South Carolina, every district, and across the state in the state of South Carolina. We have to be organizing all the time, and keeping the pressure on and coming together, and then we can move collectively to create the kind of change that all of our educators deserve, that all of our students deserve. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. This is about our students and protecting their right to have a free and high quality public education where they're safe and they're loved and they're treated as a human being. And our vision is to make that happen along with everybody who's watching tonight and educators across the state. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank again Alana, Joy, and Sydney for joining us tonight. And I would like to just preview a couple of things coming up tomorrow night. And I believe it was Yelena who said that we have to take care of ourselves. And at COOL, our mission is to improve the inner and outer lives of educators. So we believe strongly in this advocacy effort and helping you organize and helping you fight for your rights and for better working conditions. But while we're doing that, we have to take care of ourselves as well. So tomorrow night, I'll be facilitating a session on mindfulness. It's an introductory session. I'll be talking briefly about what mindfulness is, and then we'll do a practice, and I'll answer any questions that you have. That's tomorrow night right here, same place, same kind of time, 7 to 8 o'clock right here on Facebook. We'd love to have you do that, be a part of that. We are also going to be doing another educator mindfulness retreat June 12th through the 14th in Black Mountain, North Carolina. We just launched registration for that. You can find out more about that on the Cool website at cool.us/retreat. And I will put that website up there, cool.us, and then just look for the retreat part of the navigation. And we would love to have you be a part of that retreat. And also, if you've not had a chance to read the blog posts by Steve Newsom, they're amazing. They're also found on the Cool website at cool.us. He wrote a really great piece, a very, very powerful piece on the banned book, Between the World and Me. I was really inspired by it. I thought it was a really wonderfully written piece. And we'd love for you to read that, comment on that, share it, and discuss that, because he's writing some really great stuff on that blog, and he's already had 4 or 5 posts that he's done for us. So thanks to Steve and all of our cool content creators for what they're creating. And you'll find a lot of cool stuff at the Cool website at cool.us, all kinds of videos. We have videos on nutrition, videos on wellness, on mindfulness, videos on banned books, videos on just stories that educators are telling about their experiences in the classroom. So lots and lots of great material for you to consume, so you don't feel alone, and you can share this material with your colleagues. And it's really designed to support your inner and outer lives. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night with a mindfulness session from 7 to 8 o'clock. Thanks so much again to the guests tonight, for everybody who's watching, and to everybody in Charleston County. Please know that we stand in solidarity with you. We love you. We care about you. We are going to be standing beside you and behind you to help create the kind of change you deserve, because you don't deserve the kind of stuff that happened last night. So we're here to support you at the SCEA. Please reach out to us, and we'll see you on the next live stream.